and then we will do the same with Josh Brooks, and then we'll take your questions. So President Morehead, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Claude, and thank you, everyone. As you know, following the announcement from Greg McGarity that he was retiring as athletic director, I immediately launched a search process that was overseen by an 11-person advisory committee led by the chairman and CEO of Synovus, Regent Kessel Stelling, with the assistance of Michael Luthi, who leads our UGA search group. I also retained Todd Turner, the founder and president of Collegiate Sports Associates. Greg McGarity and I had previously worked closely with Todd Turner on the hiring of Tom Crean as the men's basketball coach. Before becoming a search consultant, Todd served as an athletic director for over 20 years in the SEC, the ACC, and the Pac-12. So he knows what's needed to do this job, and he did an excellent job of getting a number of prominent athletic directors very interested in the position. At the outset, I want to thank publicly the members of the 11-person advisory committee, particularly the committee chair, Kessel Stelling, for devoting so much of their holiday season to carefully reviewing a large number of interested candidates who met my stated criteria. I also want to thank Michael Luthi, who provided excellent support to the committee, as well as Todd. Kessel and Todd spent many hours on the phone with me, and their wise counsel was invaluable to me during the search process. A number of highly qualified candidates were brought before the advisory committee for review. I'm pleased that the committee chose to interview a highly qualified and diverse pool of candidates for this position. Following those interviews, the committee provided their perspectives on the qualifications of each to me, and I then conducted my own interviews. From visionary and strategist to contract negotiator, fundraiser, champion for student athletes, supervisor of coaches, the modern day athletic director must effectively wear many, many hats. After careful consideration, I am confident that Josh Brooks can wear all of these hats very well. I'm excited to see our athletic program continue to evolve as one of the premier programs in the nation, with Josh now at the helm. Of course, he will assume this role at a time when a number of critical issues are surrounding intercollegiate athletics nationally, from name, image, and likeness to transfers, to governance, to COVID-19. Over time, I expect Josh not only will lead the UGA athletic department, but also will become a leading contributor to the national conversation shaping the future of intercollegiate athletics. And I am confident that Josh will do all of his responsibilities very, very well. And finally, I am very pleased that Doris Griffin will succeed Josh as the Senior Deputy Director of Athletics. She will work alongside Will Lawler, Stephanie Ranson, Matt Borman, Magni El-Shawway, Ron Corson, and other superstars that we have providing leadership to the various departments in our athletic program. I think we are at a very good place, and I congratulate Josh on his appointment as the J. Reed Parker Director of Athletics.
Thank you, President Morehead. And now let's go to Josh Brooks.
Thank you, President Morehead. I am honored, humbled, and excited for this responsibility. I would also like to thank the advisory committee, Kessel Stelling and Todd Turner. First and foremost, I need to thank my family, my parents back home, my brother, sister. My father's since passed away since 2012, but all of my family back home for all they've done for me to support me through the years. My wife, Lily, our sons, James, Jackson, and Davis. My wife and I started dating when I was just a grad assistant making peanuts, working 16-hour days. And through this journey to get to where we are today, she's been my side. She's been my biggest cheerleader, and she's been my biggest supporter. So I'm really thankful for her sticking by my side through all these years to get to where we are today. Couldn't have done it without her. Early on in my career, there's a man named Jeff Boss, who was the head equipment manager at LSU, who was my early mentor. He shaped me and made me into the man I am today, and I'm very thankful for him as well and the lessons he taught me. I've had the opportunity to work for some great coaches, from Jimbo Fisher to Mike Collins, Tommy Condell, Bob Trott, Charlie Weatherby, and of course, Coach Rick here at Georgia. I've worked with some great administrators, obviously Greg McGarity. I can't thank him enough for all he's done for me, the opportunities he gave me, the mentorship, the opportunities to take chances and fail and learn and get better. He really had a tremendous impact on my career the last 10 years. I've also worked with great ADs, from Bobby Staub at ULM and Brian Wickstrom, to great presidents and VPs, Dr. Katz and Dr. Perigin at Millsaps. I had a great time there as well. I've been fortunate to work with some great Georgia legends, Coach Steve Greer, Charlie Whittemore, Mike Cavan, 3 men who've given their all to this university and who are heroes to me. And beyond that, the staff, the coaches, the student athletes, the athletic board, the university staff members, the faculty. This university is an extremely special place to me. This is a place where my children were all born, a place I spent 10 plus years of my life. I'm an Athens resident. My kids go to public school here in Athens. I feel a part of this community. And it all started for me, oddly enough, 21 years ago in 1999, when I came here as a student manager to visit for a football game. And I told one of my best friends that day that this was the most beautiful place I'd ever seen. And if I ever had a chance to work here, I wanted to work here. Well, fast forward 9 years later, he let me know about a job that was open here in 2008 as assistant director of football operations. And I thought there was no way this job was really open. And I blindly applied for it, sent every piece of material I had to Coach Rick, and got that job, changed my life, and then really put me on this path here at the University of Georgia. And I'm just grateful to be here. I take pride in every day showing up in this office, and I love this university. My message to our staff, our students, our coaches, everyone that works here, first and foremost, we want to develop student athletes, not just on the field or in the classroom, but in all areas of life. We want to produce productive citizens, people that are going to make a difference in the world. That's important to me. Next thing is I want to win championships. And of course, we all want to win it in major sports, but I want to win in every single sport we compete at. I want us to perform at a level where we're competing and winning championships at the highest level. Another word that you'll hear me mention a lot is experiences. And that doesn't matter if it's students, staff, fans, everyone. I've always been one to be open and listen. I don't shy away from criticism. I always want to find ways for us to get better. Every single day, every year, I want to find ways for the University of Georgia Athletic Department to get better. And we can never settle. We can never rest our laurels. We want to continuously get better. And one of the things I want to bring to the forefront is innovation. And I use that word carefully because I always will respect the tradition at the University of Georgia, but I want to bring an innovative mindset and a growth mindset. We will never settle for the status quo. And lastly, I want to say this, that every decision I make, I will always put the best interest of the university at the forefront of every decision, every initiative, everything we do. We're going to keep the university first at the forefront of every decision we make. And with that said, thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Josh. And let's go to questions for either President Morehead or Josh. And let's start with, we'll go to Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal, and then to Seth Emerson with The Athletic.
Yeah, Jerry, I was really interested in Mr. Morehead. I apologize.
You can call me Jere.
I was
many years.
I know. I was interested in several things you said there. This was quick in the grand scheme of things. And I talked to some other ADs outside of Georgia, said there's not an AD in the country who wouldn't be interested in that job. So just can you talk about maybe the number of candidates that you guys had to sort of sift through, and why Josh, you felt was superior to all that outside talent that could have come in?
Well, there were a significant number of candidates. I don't know what the total number was that the committee looked at. I know it was a considerable number. The committee from that process decided on interviewing a more selective group and came to me to seek approval to interview those, and I approved of everyone that they wanted to interview. I want to be careful because one of the things that every one of these ADs was concerned about was their name not being disclosed.
Right.
Because they didn't want their home institutions to be aware of their interest. There were a few ADs that weren't comfortable with the public process of having an advisory committee. And so there were some back channel discussions with some of those. I looked at some individuals that didn't want to go before the committee, but wanted me to know of their interest. And I certainly looked closely at their qualifications. And then ultimately, the committee came down to believing that there were two candidates that really stuck out as stronger than all the others that we had considered. And I had extensive discussions with those two candidates. You're obviously aware of who one of them was, Josh.
Yeah.
And with the other. And I agreed with the committee. It wasn't an easy choice, but I feel very good about the choice because I think that Josh brings a level of energy, commitment, desire to be even better than what we are today. That is exciting for me. And when you get to be my age, seeing someone like Josh, who has so much enthusiasm, is very gratifying. And what I think really sort of tilted the decision for me is I put Josh through a number of scenarios that he probably didn't enjoy, but of how he would handle this case or that case and what would he do if that happened. And I really liked his answers. I liked how he thought through what he would do in those situations, who he would consult, who he would call, what he would ultimately do to get to a decision to recommend to the president. And that told me that that Greg McGarity and others had really done a great job of bringing Josh into enough high-level meetings. He's been in many with me over the years, but obviously in others. I know he's attended SEC meetings with the athletic director as well. That I felt like he was ready, and I think his loyalty and his commitment to this institution are obvious. And as someone who's on the downside of a career, I'm always worried about where Georgia will be in 10 or 15 years. And I have no worries. I think Josh will be moving us forward. So, I can show up in 10 or 15 years if I'm still in this world and congratulate Josh on having done a tremendous job.
Thank you.
My question's for Josh, but I'd like the opportunity to call Jere by his first name also. Josh, do you have, now that you have the permanent job, a, first 100 days plan type kind of thing? Do you have some tangible things that you plan on now doing that you are the permanent AD?
Yes, I've always kept a list and sometimes those things can go to any school anywhere you're at, but then you always want to specify those to a specific institution that's here. So I've got a bunch of ideas, some things big, some things small that I want to attack early, but at the same time, we're navigating through a very tough time with COVID and everything else, that this isn't a time for a bunch of change that's not needed or unnecessary. So really got to be judicious about what we decide to attack early on. but I think there's some low hanging fruit, some things we can attack early on that can make a difference. And we'll be huddling with my senior team here soon to really start laying out, what that's going to look like here in the next 60, 90 days and beyond. But I feel pretty good. Obviously having 10 plus years experience here, I feel like I know what some of the issues are. I've been the one, honestly, that's done a lot of the responding to fans when there's been issues. So I feel it's given me a great pulse of what are the hot button issues, some of the things we can work on and improve. And again, I'd never shy away from criticism. So I welcome those emails, welcome those phone calls, because it only helps us get better. And that's helped shape what I think we need to attack in that 30, 60, 90-day plan.
All right, let's go to Mark Weiser with the Athens Banner Herald, and then to Mike Griffith with Dog Nation.
I got a quick question for Jerry, then a follow-up with Josh. Jerry, can you just tell me what the contract terms are in terms of length and total compensation for Josh?
Well, Josh hasn't signed his contract yet, but we've outlined what that will be, and you'll find that it will be very similar to Greg McGarrity's contract.
Okay. And Josh, congratulations. I want to ask you, you talk about innovation and not settling for the status quo. Can you kind of elaborate on what that means, for a program that's pretty successful in a lot of sports already?
Well, I think we've never settled. We've never arrived, Mark. So I think we never take the attitude that we've arrived in any sport, anything we do. So it's always constantly challenging everybody in our staff, whether that's coaches, whether that's staff, student athletes. How do we find ways to get better? Obviously, my history. I put a lot of time in the fan experience on that. We have great employees who lead different departments who I want to challenge them to find different ways to get better. And that's not always about just spending money to be better, but how can we be more efficient? I think we've learned in these last 9 months through COVID how we can manage better, so be more efficient. There's efficiencies we've learned. But at the end of the day, it goes back to that word experiences I used. How do we all find ways to make those experiences better for our student athletes, our staff, our coaches, for our fans and donors? Because it all correlates together. The better experience we give our students, the better they'll perform, the better we treat our staff and our coaches, the better they can support our students. And the better we treat our fans and donors, the better they can help support us, which allows us to support the whole operation. So it's finding those little things. I think sometimes it's, like I said, it's little things, sometimes it's big things. So I think you'll see in the coming months, we'll be rolling out some small and hopefully some big ideas, but we're going to be very judicious about it. Not going to change just for the sake of change, but things that can make an impact and make the program better.
Congratulations, Josh. I want to follow up with something you said during your, I don't know if I'd call it an audition, but you gave a pretty lengthy interview to the media about a month ago. Touched on a lot of things. You said that Georgia, that the athletic director doesn't consider himself sports supervisor as much as sports facilitators. I want to ask you about your relationship with Kirby, and did you talk with Kirby leading up to this? Was that part of the vetting process? I mean, football drives the revenue train. And then secondly, can you talk about the dynamics of a modern day athletic director's relationship with a football coach that, sometimes makes 9 or 10 times as much money?
Yeah, I think Kirby and I have had discussions about my aspirations before. So he knew clearly what my goal and aspirations were to be the AD here. And I would respect that process. And I wanted to earn this on my own, quite frankly. I didn't want to have to ask anyone to lobby on my behalf. I wanted to get in that room at that table and compete against other sitting ADs. But when you talk about the relationship with head coaches, look, you're the AD. I'm the boss. I'm the one that ultimately responsible for this athletic department. But I understand that there's coaches that are like, they're stars. If this were a movie set, I'd be the director and they'd be the actor, right? And we have to find ways to make them be successful. We've entrusted Kirby to lead this football program. He knows what he needs to be successful. It's our job to support them. And that goes for every coach. It's not just Kirby. It's every single coach in our staff. We've hired them to do a job to lead their program. So it's our job to help guide them and help give them the resources they need to be successful in every facet of it. And of course, through that process, especially a year like this, there's going to be some no's, there's going to be some things we can't do. But as long as you have a great heart and you communicate with people and explain why, you can work through those things. But my humility is first and foremost. So I never think that I've got to come in just, pounding my fist on the table saying this is the way it's got to be. That I came up as a student manager, so that's not my mindset. So I can't pretend to be someone I'm not, but I do understand our role in all this. And at the end of the day, we all serve this institution, And this institution has been here before us and it'll be here after us. So we always have to keep that in mind in any role we have, whether it's AD or any other spot I may have had.
Thank you.
All right, let's
I
go.
would just add that that I did have conversations with Coach Smart, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'll let you talk to him directly, but I think you'll find that he's supportive of this decision.
All right, let's go to Charles Odom, Associated Press, and then to Anthony Dasher with UGAsports.com.
For Josh, I was also interested in the way you mentioned your interest in innovation and how you quickly followed that by stating your respect for tradition. I'm wondering if during your time, especially your second stint here at Georgia, if there's been times when you've had thoughts about innovative things that you'd like to try, but you kind of had to wait your turn, so to speak, until you had this opportunity.
Yeah, so look, frankly, one of those things was the lights, right? Because when we started talking about doing colored lights in the stadium, there was a little bit of pushback immediately, like, don't turn this into some disco or some party. This is the sacred Sanford Stadium, right? So that was a balance, I think, of innovation and tradition. We kept the tradition that we had started of the light up the fourth quarter, adding in the red lights and doing something more dramatic. So that's what I'm looking for. How do we build upon traditions without wiping them away, but build upon them, make them better? There's some things on my list, and you know, hopefully in the next 6 months, 9 months, a year, 12, 2 years, you'll hear about those things. But again, I want to be judicious, and I want to make sure as we lay out the plan with my team that we attack the things early that we want to attack. So, but that gives you an example of what I'm talking about when I say balancing innovation and tradition.
Hey, Josh, congratulations. Just talk about, I know you're really big on social media, and you talked about a while ago about encouraging fans to email or whatnot. Why is that a big deal for you to kind of be out there like that, to show fans, hey, I'm your AD, I'm here for you, and that sort of deal?
Well, you know, Dash, that's actually one of the things I've actually learned and witnessed from President Morehead, is how much he reads and is responsive and keeps abreast of what's going on. I think it's important in this role to know what's going on. If we're getting a lot of emails about a certain topic, we need to look into it. And I think I can't just bury my head in the sand and pretend that things are always going perfect. I want to know what's going wrong. I want to know what we can improve upon, even if it's not something that's going wrong, but just something that can get better. And our fans are the glue, the key of our experience on Saturday nights in Sanford Stadium. So, or Stegman Coliseum or Foley or any of our other venues. So making sure they have a great experience, support, and not now more than ever. We're coming out of a COVID world where we've had people sitting at home. We've had restricted attendance. Some people may have gotten comfortable. We've got to step it up in terms of fan experience and how we're going to treat them and the show we put on for them, to where we make sure this live experience is so much better than that home experience that they have to be here in person. So that's where it's important for me to keep getting better and listening. And, you know, I don't shy away from criticism. I think that's how you get better, is listening and learning.
Let's go to Zach Klein at WSB, and then we'll go to Brandon Sudge with the Macon Telegraph.
Hey, Josh, congratulations. Just wondering when you got the call, your first emotions, and other than your wife, who was the first phone call you made to let them know that the gig was yours?
Well, I obviously wanted to keep this under wraps, so I told my wife. I did tell my kids. And then there's just one person I called. That's my brother, just because he's been with me through it all, and I just had to let him know. He's been such a big support for me. But the emotions it's surreal, Zach. It really is. You know, you never believe this, but I've had this goal. I've had this vision since I was in high school and in college, and people laughed at me, thought I was crazy, but I've mapped out a plan. And my wife reminded me when we left to go to Millsaps in 2014, as we were leaving Athens, I don't remember saying this, but she swears I said, in 6 years, I'll be the AD here. I have no, but I've always had that vision and putting goals out there and setting goals and Lord willing, things have worked out for me through hard work and getting matched up with great leaders who have helped me along the way. But the emotions are just surreal. It's an honor. You know, this place is a treasure. Like Coach Smart said Saturday night, this is the greatest university in the world. This is a special place. there's no greater combination of a city, town, university, athletic department than anywhere in the world than Athens, Georgia. And I promise you, if you polled 100 random administrators in college athletics throughout the country, this university would win every time. And it's a special place, a place that I want to spend the rest of my career at.
And just to follow up, Jerry, could you even get the words out? Do you want the job before he's just kind of just.
Those are special calls when you get to give someone a job that you know they really want. So I just remember sensing a lot of enthusiasm on the other end of the call. It was a great moment.
Thank you.
Hey, Josh, congratulations on everything. Kind of following up on that as well. Can you share a timetable of when you might have heard that the job is yours? And then also you spoke about the community of Athens and how you feel like that you're a part of the community. Can you share kind of how you're able to see that every day in your role, about how you're kind of part of the community, and like the significance of serving here?
Yeah, thanks, Sudge. Yeah, so I did get the phone call last night. President Morehead was kind enough to call me and let me have a good night's sleep last night, so that was great. As far as the community here, it's very important to me, Brandon, because like I said, my kids go to public school here in Athens. I have a heart for the schools here. I've already actually talked to people on campus in this new role with this new salary. I want to commit a need-based scholarship for kids in Clark County. There's just tremendous need in this county, and I want to help. And I think anything we can do to help kids in Clark County, whether to know that they have a future and can be a part of attending this university, I want to do everything in my power to help that. But that starts with the things we did with the local youth. We started the Dogs for Pups program this year with Cortez Hankton and Coach Smart. And we were able to raise $100,000 to provide Wi-Fi for kids in this community. It was important because, as many of you know, they were learning from home because the schools were shut down. And of course, I had good Wi-Fi at my house, but even then it could become a struggle with 3 children online at the same time. So imagine, families that didn't have great Wi-Fi. So that was important to us. And we were able to help provide Wi-Fi for every child in Athens, Clark County. And then we were able to do a coat drive and food drive. And our athletic department adopted over 120 children for the holidays to get presents for. So those are things that are extremely important to me. And it's got to continue. That mission doesn't just stop now. We have to keep finding ways to make an impact on our local community, because I want those kids in this community to be future dogs, be future students at the University of Georgia. So it's important to me.
Can you also take us back, I guess, to when you were in high school or just started college and had this dream, I suppose? Can you tell us what might have been going through your head then? What ended up sparking your interest as even a high schooler?
I was always the kid on the playground that was organizing the games, making the rules, setting the teams. So it's always been in my blood. I was the one that was 15 years old coaching little YMCA teams and the rec league teams. I loved coaching. I wanted to be a coach. And it wasn't until 2004, 2003, somewhere in there, where my head football coach, Charlie Weatherby, looked at me and said, "Listen, I don't hire guys that didn't play college football, but you're really good at computers. You're really organized. I think you've got a future in administration. I'd like to make a football ops position for you." And he paid me $20,000 a year. And I said, "Let's go." And that changed my life. That put me down the path of administration. And I really enjoyed it. And I knew from that point on, I wanted to work in administration and then one day be an athletic director.
All right, let's go to Jake Rowe, 247, and then Dean Legge with Dog Post.
Hey, Josh, I wanted to ask you, so much has been covered already, but I'm interested to know, when you told your wife, when you told your kids, these things are so much of a team, family, aspirations, it takes everybody. What were their reactions? How excited were they? And did your kids realize how big of a deal it was?
I don't think my kids realize how big of a deal it is, but they're always thinking about what that means for them, where they're going to get to sit during the game, things like that. They want to be able to meet players. I think one of my children's first question was, can we have players over to the house when COVID's over so we can have functions? Because he got to come with me one time to a student athlete advisory committee dinner at Greg's house, and they're all just such fans of every student athlete. They want to meet them. So that was their big question: is when can we hang out? When can we meet some of the student athletes more than have before? But yeah, it's a special moment because Jake, my wife, like I said, she's been through so much with me, the paths, the moves we've had to make, picking up and moving our family. When we left Athens in 2014, that was a difficult decision because, Athens is the greatest place I've ever lived and didn't want to leave. But I knew it was important for me at that time to step out of my comfort zone and do something different and force myself to grow. And that was difficult. But my wife, every step of the way, every move we've made, she's been right by my side. And she's never questioned it, and she's been a great partner through all of this. And I think my kids are just excited to know that they're going to be in Athens for a lot longer because they absolutely love it here, and I'm excited to see them continue on in Athens.
This question is for Jerry. Jerry, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about when you hire someone who has 24 months or fewer experience as the athletic director of a top 5 athletic department. That could raise eyebrows at times. Why was Josh the right person, and were y'all worried about his experience as the executive in filling this position?
Well, obviously, in the end, that's what it came down to. Do you take a chance on somebody who has tremendous potential, or do you hire somebody who is more of a seasoned veteran? I think one of the really critical factors I've already mentioned, which was what I thought was Josh's ability to quickly grow and develop in the position because of all the experience he already had being at Greg's side for such a long period of time in the SEC. But the other part for me is the team that we currently have in the athletic department. Josh has a strong relationship with all of these individuals. I don't think you're going to find a better senior deputy now anywhere than the one that Josh is going to have in Darius Griffin. You've got people like Will Lawler, who also has a reporting line under NCAA rules to my area because of his responsibilities. I've really spent a lot of time getting to know Will and just think the world of him and what he has meant for Georgia athletics since we persuaded him to come over from the SEC office. I look at people like Stephanie Ransom that does a tremendous job as the chief financial officer for the athletic department. We've got a tremendous fundraiser in Matt Borman, who's just set things on fire for us in terms of getting donors excited about supporting the University of Georgia. And I think Magni running our academic support center, getting the person who had all that experience at Southern Cal to come here was a tremendous accomplishment. And I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot of people that are key leaders in athletics, but one that has always been at the top of my list is Ron Corson. I don't think we would have made it through COVID had we not had Ron Corson. And he was so valuable, not only to us, but to the SEC. The commissioner had Ron working on their medical task force to try to make the decisions that were necessary for us to play football this fall, and knew that in Ron, we had one of the very best anywhere. So when I looked at that nucleus of leadership and all of the opportunities that I thought Josh would have to collaborate with them and to quickly grow into becoming a seasoned athletic director, I just thought that was the right call for the University of Georgia. You know, I've hired some people internal, at UGA. I've hired a lot of people external. My number 2 at UGA is Jack who was the vice president for research at the University of Michigan, that I wanted to bring in because I thought Jack could build our research enterprises in ways that we perhaps had not yet contemplated at Georgia. I'm not afraid of bringing people in from the outside. I've done it many, many times. But in this case, I thought the person we had on the inside was the right call. And I hope you're getting a glimpse of that at this news conference today. I feel really good about the future under Josh Brooks's leadership.
All right, we're going to take 3 more questions. We're going to go to Austin Roper from the Red and Black, and then Vance Levy from Bulldog Illustrated, and then we'll finish up with Connor Riley from Dog Nation.
Yeah, this question's for Josh. So Jerry mentioned earlier that he said that he felt like you were ready for this role, and obviously he means that. Was there a particular moment where you felt like you were ready and prepared to be the school's next athletic director? And if there was a moment, can you kind of walk me through that?
Austin, I think I started having some of those moments this summer as we were going through some of the COVID protocols. And I think that goes back to what President Morehead was mentioning about the team. As we work through navigating through all the challenges of this year and getting to see the strengths of Doris and Will and Stephanie and Matt and Magdi and Ron and many, many others, see them play out and work through all these things together, it really gave me a great sense of comfort that we've got such a great team that we can attack any problem. And if I just rely on those people when I need to, I don't always have to have all the solutions myself. You rely on great people, get their insight, and make a decision. But it was through the summer, through working through a lot of these COVID protocols, the management, how we plan through the ticketing process for this football season, COVID protocols, everything else, the budgeting process, all those things, working with those key people. Because I was in more of that senior deputy role, I got to have more of a hands-on role with each group. Gave me great confidence, and it all goes back to the team we have here. It's all about the team. It's not about me. It's about the team we have in place, and I have great comfort and confidence in our team.
This is for Josh. Josh, congratulations.
Thanks,
obviously, you being in the inside like President Morehead was, sort of helped you land the job. Having been there and in that position, and as you talk about wanting to win championships, are there some immediate needs that, you see that coaches need to get them to that next step? And then how soon will you meet with all of them?
I will meet with them immediately, Vance. And that's one of the things that I've had some preliminary meetings with them, but that's one of the things where I'm talking about listening and getting with them and saying, okay, what do we need to do to help take you to the next level? How do we make sure we provide you every resource you need to be successful? And sometimes you got to make choices between what those are, but you want them to be part of that process and say, how can I help you? How can we help you be successful? How can we help you recruit? How can we help you develop? How can we help you every aspect of your program make it better? So that's part of that listening process with all of our head coaches. And I feel like I've got a great relationship with all of them already. We have a phenomenal coaching staff, and we've got some legends. I mean, you think about some of the coaches we have here, Jack, Manny, Jeff, Lou, Hack, and we've got some legends of coaches, and we've got some great up and comers as well. So balancing that all out, and that's where we can get them. We're trying to get them to work together more, to where they can help brainstorm ideas of each other and collaborate. But we've got a great staff, and that all goes back to listening to them and trying to see where there's areas where we can improve with them.
Hey, Josh, congratulations. Sort of a mesh of the last 2 questions here. You wanted to be a coach before you worked in the football operations side. How do you think that sort of somewhat coaching background is going to help you be a better athletic director? Thanks,
Connor. It's a great question. I think it gives me a great leg up being a former coach, having worked on that side of the aisle as a graduate assistant coach, as a student coach, and even as a director of football operations. You're really more on the coaching side than administrative side. But when you're in the trenches coaching and you're fighting for every recruit and you're fighting to win every game, you understand why you fight for the little things that you fight for. if you've never been on that side of the aisle and you're an administrator, you may question and say, do they need that? Do they need that? I don't understand. But you understand when you're on the coaching side and you're recruiting a student athlete, you want to cover every base, right? When you bring them on a trip, you want every minute of that trip to be great. And when you're preparing a student athlete for competition, you want to make sure everything's taken care of, from nutrition to sleep to everything straight. So having an understanding of that, when a coach comes to me and asks for something, I already have a deeper level of understanding of why, the why behind it. And I think when you understand the why behind some of the asks, it gives you better perspective to help navigate what is essential and what is non-essential. And I think I feel their energy, and I know how passionate they are, and I appreciate that.
All right, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much, President Morehead, for